Welcome to Vertical Football, and this is the Blue Box. Yeah, this is a show where we talk all things Chelsea, and this is a beautiful Tuesday again. So this one, we want to have a review of what has gone on in the club, and we are going to be doing it about what went on the pitch. So it's going to be a tactical view on what went on in our last two matches. Like, I talked about having a tactical review after the Charlton's match, but like I said in that particular one, that the quality of survey that we are using is not that top notch. It's Charlton. Like, anything that happens in that match, okay, you will just get a glimpse, but you can't see how this thing will actually play out because the quality of the survey is not top level. But we were fortunate to play against Arsenal and also against Brentford, the team that the times that we have played them this season, it turned out to be draws. Arsenal 1-1 and Brentford 2-2. But coming into this leg playing against them, Arsenal eventually went on to get the win, but we saw some tactical juice here and there, and we saw things where that we can improve on. And then in the Brentford match also, we saw some level of tactical game and another viewpoint to seeing how this coach wants to play. So that's what we want to tackle in this particular one. We want to speak about our build-up. We want to talk about the issues that is there in it. We want to talk of what we are doing off the ball. We want to talk about some of the issues that we find out there. We want to speak about on the ball, and then we end it with some side talks here and there. So let's go right into it, guys. I just want to appreciate you guys for sticking with us. Like, this is the Blue Box. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done that. So let's jump right into it, and we'll start with the build-up. Yeah, so the build-up of Chelsea is showing up in like different phases. When we're playing out from the back, like when we want to play goal kick, we tend not to play long under Liam Rosenior. Even under Enzo Maresca, we didn't always play long. We try to like play short. But in this one, it's coming in a different pattern. With Liam Rosenior, you have your left centre back and your right centre back staying with the goalkeeper to collect the ball and start the build up. So the two guys staying there. We have the full backs. They are going very wide up on the pitch there. And then you have the two pivot guys. So that makes it 6 players. But when they get the first pass, Sanchez becomes a part of the build-up. So we have seven players like that. So you have 2 centre-back, the goalkeeper, that's 5, and the 2 full-back. Sorry, that's 3. With the 2 full-back, that's 5. And then you have the 2 pivots, that's 7. But we still do something extra in the sense that we allow the striker coming deep to come and get the first pass if we cannot break through from the press of the opponent. And we saw that against, I think we did that so much against Arsenal, when the press was really tight up front, and Arsenal was because Arsenal is one of the best teams when it comes to pressing. They are one of the best in the league. When they come out to press us really well, we tend to like open a little bit of space, whether the middle of the pivot or one of the pivots shifting and allowing João Pedro gets the ball. So when he gets the ball, he just either fix the guy on the half turn or turn to the other side and find somebody to pass to, because the guys will start shifting forward. So that's one part in which we build up. We set our goalkeeper with the 2 centre backs. We set the full back. We set the pivot. But sometimes we can play to the pivot so they make bounce passes when the pressing is not that effective. But when it is very, very effective choking us, we tend to like allow our striker come and receive the ball, and we give. And we have even seen cases where Sanchez do not even necessarily choose the striker. And this one is not most of the time it's not in goal kick. It's when we get the ball and we want to reset and everywhere is beginning to like close up. Then the pivots just open a little bit and allow somebody like Estevao who tucks into the box 4 of the midfield and just come and collect the ball. We saw those things against Arsenal. Yeah, so but we saw another dynamics to it in the match against Brentford, because Brentford, they committed a whole lot of numbers up front. When we were playing against Arsenal with a build-up of 7, Arsenal were committing 5 players. So sometimes 5, sometimes 6. So they were always a man short. But when it came to Brentford's time, they committed like something close to an actual number. So we didn't have the spearman. But I would say there was always the spearman, which was the fullback, somebody either on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side, depending where the ball goes to first. But because they are not giving the pivots chance to get space and time so that they can choose that man with a pass. So it's becoming something that in that particular match we went long, and it's not necessarily like a reaction. It is a response to what is going on. So when you see like, okay, if I drop this pass, there is going to be a chance for turnover, a chance for error, then I choose to go long. And we always have people positioned there. That's why when you look at the Brentford match, you see a whole lot of balls going to Garnacho and Pedro Neto, which puts them in a 1v1 situation because Brentford chose to like bring players up front. So it's two things for us. When the opponent decide to bring players up front, we can go long. When they do not send so much players up front, we can try to beat out of their press, either by playing it between them or sending the striker to come deep and receive the ball, then make a bounce pass. So that's how Chelsea turn out to build up in the goal kick situation, in the reset, in the dead ball situation. But when it comes to when we have progressed up front, what do we look like on the ball? So we basically are always in a 3-4-3 formation, but the 3-4-3 formation, depending on how you want to see it, you can either see it as a 3-4-3 or you see it as a 3-2-2-3. But I prefer to see it as a 3-4-3 because the four guys who are the two pivots and two tens, they are still in the midfield. So it's just forming a box instead of a horizontal line. So we are always in a 3-2-2-3, or you can call it a 3-4-3 when we have progressed the ball to the halfway line. So that's how we turn to like move up our shape, and the pivots just keep kicking the ball around themselves and looking for pockets. And you have the number 10 on, most especially the actual number 10 running, like coming in behind to take in the to take in the pocket and receive the ball, do on a half turn and either go wide or share with his second 10 or go to the center man or go to the right hand side. So that's the way we build up from the dead ball situation, which is in the goal kick, or when we have the opportunity to push them into the halfway line. That's how we decide, or that's how we play. And I believe with Liam Rosenior that he has shown that when, depending on what the opponent does, we will show up in something that can counter that. I believe there are still going to be different ways in which we can play in all of this situation. So what are the issues with our build-up that we have seen in the last two matches? I think the first thing for me is between Enzo Fernandez and Sanchez, because Enzo Fernandez has played as a double pivot in this match, and the two times he has played, I think it's just obvious that even if he's playing with any one of the guys who is partnering with him, be it Reece James, be it Moises Caicedo, be it Andre Santos, he is the guy who will orchestrate the play, because basically that's like before Enzo Maresca switched him and put him up front. Under Pochettino, that's how we played. In Argentina, that's how we played. When he was in Benfica, that's how we plays. He's the guy who orchestrates the play. So let me go back to where I was coming from to not derail. Between him and Sanchez, I think they have not formed that synergy yet. They have not gotten to a place where they understand themselves. So you see most of the time, even in the Arsenal's match and the Brentford match, where, no, not necessarily so much in the Brentford match, but let me just use the Arsenal's match as the best survey, where he's expecting that Sanchez gives him the ball, but eventually Sanchez decides not to give him the ball, and he prefers to like go to the fullback, just play a short, maybe kind of like a long pass, but not necessarily that long pass that you're thinking of, just straight to the fullback or go very long. So I feel like they have not gotten to understand themselves yet. So what is limiting them is, I think, like the coach said, he said it's trigger, and he puts it on Sanchez, not like a blame, but just explaining the situation. Like Sanchez has not understood the triggers yet. Like there's an instruction that when you see this particular pattern, this is what you should do. So I feel like, and one thing that I see that is making us get limited when their synergy is not, when they are not synergized yet, is when Sanchez gets the ball and as Santos and Enzo Fernandez are like standing in front of him and they want to get the ball, because he knows they have a marker. Enzo Fernandez is trying to like come a little bit, and Santos too is wanting to come. So the guy that is up here that is pressing for the opponent will press into Andre Santos. When Sanchez drops that short pass to Enzo Fernandez, he can switch the play back to where the opponent is coming from. And then we have a fullback there who can just progress the ball easily. And just out of that kind of situation, we have beaten like 4-5 men. So I feel like they just need to understand their self. I think, but for me, I feel like Sanchez is still taking the less risky route. Like, oh, let me not cause so much of problem. And I understand that. But as he get on, I think he needs to engage himself so much in the risk of trusting Enzo Fernandez or trusting any of the guys that is there. So I feel like that's the issue. And another issue that I see is in the Liam Rosenior system, the two pivots are the building block of the team. The ball needs to come through them for us to progress the ball. But we saw like in the Brentford match, because those guys committed a whole lot of players in the pitch, he used another way by going long into the winger or going long to the striker who will win the first ball or who tries to win the first ball, and when he did not win the first ball, wins the second ball and gets it to his number 10. So that's another way to go about if our building blocks, which is in the two pivots, have been marked out of the game. Because we suffered that under Enzo Maresca too. When Moises Caicedo is being marked out of the game, we become the game just goes stale. There is nothing going on anymore. Everything is just dry. But I feel like we're seeing dynamics in this particular one. And I think we just need to try and do a whole lot of things in different ways to make sure that when these guys are being blocked out, the two pivots, we find another way to get into the build-up and get the ball into play. Okay, so that's what I would just say about the build-up. Now let's go off the ball. What's going on in the club off the ball? What are things that we are doing? How are we taking our shape off the ball? I think our basic shape off the ball is the 4-2-3-1, which is what is the normal formation on paper. But that formation is not a stagnant formation. It changes as the game progresses. It changes depending on what the opponent does. It changes depending on the quality of opponent that we are playing against. So sometimes you see us move from a 4-2-3-1 into a 4-4-2 by having when we're playing on the ball and we have moved up there and they get the ball and we want to like pick our shape to contain what they are doing, we just go our 4 defense staying there. One of the 10 just come back and it just joins into the midfield. So we have the 2 pivots join with 1 winger and join with the other winger. So the 2 pivots and the wingers come back and they make a 4, and then you have the number 9 and the number 10, and then we push up and make a compact 4-4-2. And sometimes we even shift into a 5-4-1 depending on what the opponent is doing. Because if you look at even the Arsenal's match, you look at Arsenal committing players up front, you want to match the numbers. You don't want to have a situation where they are having 5 up front and all you have at the back is 4. That they will create problem for you there. So we tend to like go 5 in the back sometimes, and it's still something close to like the Enzo Maresca's 5 at the back with the wing. It will be the winger on the ball playing side. Maybe it's the right channel or the left channel. You'll be the one to come back to join his own fullback. And sometimes we went into a 6 at the back and we play like something like 6-3-1. I used the Arsenal match as a survey for that because we saw Timber and Timber and Trossard overloading that up space where you have Achimpong playing that space, and the person who is going to cover, even if we want to make a 5 at the back, is Estevao. But we all know that Estevao defensive duty is not at the top level. He still needs a lot of work to get better at his defensive duty. So you see somebody like Andre Santos shift out of that space and go to join them to like just create some numbers there so that they are going to be like a solidity in the defensive part of that play. So sometimes you see us in a 6-3-1 or a 6-4. We just keep changing depending on how the game is going, depending on what the opponent is doing, and depending on what we want to achieve. And also off the ball, one of the center back is a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, and a Swiss Army knife is somebody who have a whole lot of weapon in his arsenal. Yeah, somebody like, and the Swiss Army knife that we have seen in Liam Rosenier's system is the guy on the left center back. That, and most of the time that's Fofana being that guy who goes out of the defensive area and make sure he chase around the ball like the defense, I mean, the attacking midfielder of the opponent. He does not just stay. He makes sure he keeps moving. And why did he choose Fofana? It's because of his pace. He can run up there. And his recovery pace is just something else. It's out of this world. I don't think we have anybody in the Chelsea's defensive line whose pace is as good or as top as Fofana. So it's just obvious that he has to be that Swiss Army knife who runs around irrespective of where the ball is. Just make sure that you are man-marking the creative guy in that team. And he did that against Arsenal. You see, Fofana going around with Chalobah. Going around with Odegaard, rather, I'm sorry about that. Going around with Odegaard, making sure that he does not get into the play when we are off the ball. So the center back is a Swiss Army knife. And another thing, when we are off the ball is we try to talk in. Yeah, we try to talk in the way we build, the way we stand, the way we structure ourselves off the ball is choke the central areas. Yeah, make sure that nothing is going through the middle. Allow them go wide because you know that you have stable guys. You have like responsible guys. You have guys who can stand up to the challenge on the right side and on the left side. In the person of Cucurella and Arthur, Rhys James, Malo Gusto, and Achimpong, people who can put up fight with any winger that they come up against. So when you choke the central of the pitch, all the opponent has available is to go on the wide side and play. And it's harder to play on the wide side because there is a whole lot of distance to cover to get into the goal. But when you open the central channel, it's easy. It's like straight into the goal. You're just moving straight into the goal. So I feel like those are the things that we are seeing in the Chelsea's play off the ball. And now let's look at some issues that we have off the ball. And the first one that is very, very obvious. I believe it should not elude you who watch the ball for analysis or somebody who is watching the ball in-depthly. Is our defensive transition. I feel like we struggle in the defensive transition. Number one is sometimes we kind of like switch off. Yeah, we just switch off. Pum. It's just that 1 minute, like when you're moving the ball, pum, and then all of a sudden the opponent just takes the ball out of your hand and boom. It's just that 2 seconds of, now I want to run back to the post. That 2 seconds of switching off is something that the opponent will capitalize on. And we saw that in the Arsenal's match where sometimes we make fouls up front, like in the final third, and Arsenal just gets the ball. When they are turning their back and trying to get back home, Arsenal pass the ball and boom, they have progressed into the back. And even look at I think it was the third goal or something. Yeah, it was the third goal where we made the ball into a throw-in and then was it Ben White? Yeah, I think it should be Ben White. Just quickly took the throw in, and before we could recover, everybody gets into that right shape of mind where they are structuring themselves and getting things right. The passes are like Saka has gotten the ball, made pass into Merino. Merino dropped the pass for Zubimendi, and boom, he has put it at the back of the net. So I think we switch off during the defensive transition, and our shape during the defensive transition. To be very, very honest with you, maybe I'm not seeing the game that deeply, and I will be open if you can put this in the comment section if you have seen any shape. I think I can't say we don't have a shape, but I just feel like it's not really evident in our defensive transition. It's kind of like close to no shape. I've tried to like look during our transition. Okay, I'm waiting. Oh, let us take the ball up front and let us lose it, or let us lose it in the middle phase of the pitch. Let me see what our shape is like. I feel like we don't have a shape, or let me say we don't have a solid shape to block against defensive transitions, against attacking transitions rather. Yeah, so we struggle in our defensive transition because our shape is not that solid. And I saw in the Arsenal's match, even in the Brentford's match, where when we concede possession and then they are going on transition against us, our shape is more like taking the shape of what the opponent is doing. So it's more like, oh, we have lost the ball. Everybody start chasing every available man instead of running to pick a shape that will like either curb the attack from being progressed, or just pick a shape where they will not have a choice to go. They will not have any choice than going either flank or retaining and holding the ball and allowing their own player come up front. So we are not picking anything solid when it comes to defensive transition. And the last thing about our off the ball is our rest defense. I would honestly say our rest defense is too risky. Too risky. I saw it in the Arsenal's match. Didn't see much of it in the Charlton's match, but I saw it in the Arsenal's match. No, it was obvious in the Charlton's match, maybe because we were so much in possession. That's why it didn't really seem like a problem. But in the Arsenal's match, it was evident. When we go up front, the shape we are taking at the back is more like just a two. Who holds a rest defense with two? Makes no sense. This is the Premier League. I think that's too risky. You're committing too much of player up front, and then the two that you have at the back is just your centre back. Now, where the problem is, imagine that these two at the back is in the likes of Tosin and what's it called? Tosin and Badiashile, two slow players, or Chalobah and Badiashile. It might be a good thing when you have Fofana and Chalobah. You have somebody who is fast in the person of Chalobah. Maybe when they beat one, he can quickly cover up. But rest defense, you need to be having something around 4. Yeah, because I saw it in the Arsenal. There was one where Saka it was a mistake. Enzo Fernandez taking a pass, make the ball into trying to give it to João Pedro. João Pedro not getting the ball, and his touch just opened the ball wide, and Saka stole the ball and started running. And all we had at the back was the two centre backs in the person of Fofana and Chalobah. And that was everything. Like, I was like, no. This is too risky. This is just too risky. That's too risky. We need to do something about the rest defense. We need to make sure that I feel like three is good. 3 is good, or 4. 4 should be like the basic. 4 should be like the basic. If you are doing 5, it has to depend on what the quality of the opponent is. If they are not committing so much at the back, but if they are committing so much at the back, I feel like we should just do 4. Make the pivot, one of the pivots stay. Let the second one go, and keep your 3 centre back with the left centre back tucking in, or let the right centre back tucking, so it looks like a 4, a box or something like that. I just feel like we having 2, it makes no sense. And you look at even the Brentford match, that ball where there was a mistake from Cucurella, him dropping it to Thiago, and Thiago just making that pass straight forward, and he just split the two. Reece James and I think it should be Chalobah or something, split them, and Kevin Schad just went through. Beautiful save from Sanchez. That was what saved us from that goal. So I feel like 2 is not the best. 2 is not the best in my opinion. Yeah. So we're talking about what we look like in the build-up, what we look like. Yeah, let's talk about what we look like on the ball. Yeah, I feel like that's very, very important. Now, we spoke about we being in a 3-4-3 situation. Sometimes we can be in a 3-2-5. Yeah, depending on what's going on. Sometimes we can be in a 3-2-5. Sometimes it can be in a 3-4-3. But there are a whole lot of dynamics to this thing. Now you look at the Brentford's match, we maintained the 3-4-3, having the box midfield. But if you look at the Arsenal's match, we thrived more in a 3-2-5, and sometimes it can even be a 3-4-3. But what you see in that place is a different dynamic, in the sense that when somebody like Achimpong is the fullback who comes in to go and take the 10 position. So what that went on in that particular situation was, instead of him staying in that 10 position, he went to hold the width and allow Estevao invert into that space. Because, when Estevao gets the ball in that kind of space, he can go on to do some creative work. But Achimpong, you can't expect so much of that. You just, in the case of Achimpong, what you get more is, when he gets the ball on the right hand side, he can progress it quickly by just progressing. But when we're talking about getting the ball and doing some creative work, either getting a final pass or getting the ball to the left hand side or the right hand side, is just not that guy to do that. So what we saw in that match was him going on to go and hold the width, and then allowing Estevao talking to take the 10 position. And that's a different dynamic. And speaking on the left hand side, when you see Pedro Neto, I think there is a different build up. I've seen it. I saw it throughout the whole time Pedro Neto played. There is a different build up for Pedro Neto. I think it was specifically to Pedro Neto. And I think Garnacho Garnacho also did that too, but Garnacho was more of hold the line and make sure you are keeping the fullback up front there so that you can get a 1v1 situation and go and take your player on. But with Pedro Neto, you get more of, he comes back to the halfway line, Cucurella get close to him, and when they get the ball, Cucurella attracts the winger, Pedro Neto attracts the fullback. So, and they find a way to make sure that the ball gets out of that place. And what that does for us is he open a lot of space going forward for Pedro Neto. Because you know he thrives on speed and either square play or all those in-swinger kind of cross. So I feel like we are building a whole lot of things for some player playing to their strength. He needs space, he needs time. So we do something like make Cucurella get the ball, but not necessarily drop the pass. Pedro Neto comes, gets the ball, collects it, and they get very close to themselves, drag the fullback and the right wing, or the left winger and the fullback together with themselves, and they make sure they manipulate something and make sure Pedro Neto is free going forward, and it just goes and goes on to either go and meet up with the center back, or goes on to make a cross, or goes on to make a square play, or either a cutback. So it's different dynamics for every player. On Estevao's side, you don't necessarily get that. Sometimes he did it. I think he did it in the Charlton's match. Yeah, he did it in the Charlton's match, but in the Arsenal match, he didn't do that. He did more of inverting and allowing the fullback go take up what's going on up front there. So I feel like we were doing a whole lot of things good, and there was also rotation in the midfield box. Yeah, you see sometimes Reece James switching, you see Enzo Fernandez coming back, you see him going forward, you see even Palmer coming. The fluidity in the box for is something we have spoken about, and I don't want to go back there anymore, but I just feel like it's one of the beautiful things that is happening to us. One thing I just feel like we should work on is the transition. Whenever we lose the ball up front, we are too opened. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. We are too opened. It's easier for the opponent to just come through us whenever we lose the ball. So let's go into. I feel like I just want to talk about one other player who he has been the headline in this new system. Not so much everybody is playing fine. Even Sanchez deserve a show in his own self to talk about how good this guy has been. But Enzo Fernandez is the name. With the new responsibility or another responsibility coming on his neck. When he came into the club, he came in as a pivot. He came in as a 6. The guy who orchestrates the play. He played well, had a very fantastic season. Sorry about that. He played well and had a fantastic season. When Pochettino left and Maresca came into the game, we saw him take up another different role, him going to join the attacking part of the game and playing more as a central midfielder, box to box, doing the machinery work of the team. And I think that those are one of the things that make me like this guy so much, is the fact that he can play as a 6. He can play as a box-to-box midfielder. And sometimes we have even seen him play as a 10, but a different kind of 10, not the flary kind of 10, just those kind of 10 who opens the pocket, sometimes goes into the pocket and pick up passes, drop passes and share the ball, just do the creative work up front. It's something like you see someone like Bruno Fernandes, not putting the two of them in the same box, but seeing somebody like Bruno Fernandes, what he does when he's at the front of the post. Yeah, and even for Enzo Fernandez, you look at sometimes the box crashing, the late runs, all those kind of things. We saw him evolve under Enzo Maresca. Now coming into Liam Rosenio's tenure, we now saw a blend of the two. Now we are putting him in a double pivot, which puts him in a place where he will orchestrate the play and at the same time also go on to create something up front. And we saw in the two matches, in the Arsenal's match and in the Brentford match, when he joined up in the offensive duty of the game, whenever we lose the ball, him trying to chase down and make sure he's winning those deals, doing something up front whenever he gets the ball up front and trying to like lay passes, which in turn went on like to become goals. We saw it in the Arsenal's match. Went in for the first tackle, went in for the second tackle, eventually got the ball, laid it down to Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto making the first picking and then making the cross, and you still saw the running like to go into the box, like box crashing, making sure that he's not just winning the ball and staying there, but he won the ball, send it out wide, and when the cross was coming, he still ran into that space to make sure he's trying to head the ball to the back of the net, but unfortunately, he didn't head the ball. But he still helped us open that space for Garnacho to get it. Because imagine that nobody went in for that ball. Maybe if somebody like Ben White, who was contesting for that ball, would have headed it away, but eventually got to Garnacho, and Garnacho put it at the back of the net. So I feel like this guy's role is evolving. We are seeing a blend of what we saw under Maresca and under Pochettino coming into one personality in this particular guy. I feel like I like him so much, so much. He's an engine. He's the guy who you can rely on. You can Enzo Fernandez is going to put up his 100. Whatever he might not put up his 100, but whatever he has, he's just going to definitely give it out. So I feel like I enjoy that so much from Enzo Fernandez. One thing I just feel like is a problem that we have seen twice in the Arsenal's match and in the Brentford's match is him trying to defend transition. I think it's very poor in that part. It's very poor in that part. That's why one of the show that I did last, I was advocating that he does not stay as a part of the pivot. He stays more in the 10. That's why. So you have somebody like, when we have Reece James available, let Reece James come into the midfield and partner with Moises Caicedo, and let Enzo Fernandez go front, because you know that these two guys are naturally defensive-minded people. So when balls are coming, they know how to play their tricks to block the defensive transition. But with Enzo Fernandez, it's just always is very open. It's that guy who you cannot necessarily rely on when it comes to defending transitions. So I just feel like these are the things that I've seen. And to just pick one, I feel like we should talk about Sanchez and the way he's evolving at Chelsea. I'm enjoying him so much. I love every bit of what I've seen. I know we are going to see moments where errors here and there because of the new responsibility that is being put on this guy in the way we are asking him to play out from the back. Sometimes he will panic. Sometimes he will make mistakes. Sometimes he will take long balls that will not get there. But you see all of the way that he's improving. You see in the way he's passing his ball, the short passes, he's getting it right. We know we are open to errors. We are looking at his long balls, not just reactive long balls, but long balls that is like, okay, now this place is blocked. Now let me choose to play it here. And he's playing it there and he's getting it right. And you look at his saves. I think his masterclass in his save. If I say he's currently top 2 the best goalkeeper in this season in the Premier League, I think I'm right. I don't know. I can say he's the best currently. Yeah, he's the best currently for me in goalkeeping in the Premier League. Yeah, by passes, by saves, by claims, how he's initiating fast break. Like, this guy is just getting better as the day goes by. He's getting better as the day goes by. And we are still open. We are open to the margin of errors because of, like I said earlier, because of the levels of responsibility that is being put on him. We are open to error. But you look at how integral, how important he is going to be in the way that we want to play, playing out from the back. And when the back is choked, playing long and making sure that those long are accurate. If not even 100%, we are getting 70, 80% accurate. So I feel like we just need to give kudos to this guy. And one other thing, I don't know how we want to do it with Cucurella. I see Cucurella kind of like, I don't want to use the word struggle, but I think he's having a slow start into the system, given the fact that he's not necessarily being that guy to go into the inverted role anymore. So he's either picking the left back position or picking the left center back position. So he has to either stay there, and most of the time now we will see him do the defensive duty. There are going to be dynamics. There are going to be days where he goes to join up there. But because of the creative work and everything that is being required for him to play, because under Enzo Maresca, what you're expecting of Cucurella is create overload, open space, box crash. Those are the things that we're expecting. But in this particular system, one of those 10 is still saddled with the responsibility of creativity, not just overload again. Overload is part of it, is a similarity. Box crashing is a similarity, but creativity is also part of it. So I just feel like we need to kind of settle into the defensive part of his duty more than the offensive part of his duty. And lastly, I feel like we need to do well in our defensive part, given what happened. We tried in our Arsenal's match, though we considered goals that we should have kept out, not the players' fault. But coming into the Brentford match, I feel like we were too opened. They played the ball into the centre back, put into the box too easily. They had more touches in the box. They had more shots in the box. It's something that these guys needs to do better on. So guys, I think I would like to stop here. Let me not go so far and too much, so we don't just keep talking and talking. But these are the things that we have seen, and these are the tactical views about the two matches that we have played under Liam Rosenior, given the quality. And I chose the Arsenal and the Brentford match. So guys, what are the things that you have seen? What are the things that you believe we can change? What are the things that I've said that you feel like, oh, you see it differently? Please put it in the comment section. Let's have a discussion about it and let's talk about it. Yeah, this is the Blue Box, brought to you by Vertical Football. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done that. We'll see you some other time. Namaste.